Hello, everyone. I hope you're well. Last week, I had a situation where I sent out a distribution or email to a distribution list that I thought were all businesses. Turns out I got some responses back from a few people who said, I don't know if this was intended for me. And I responded, said, no, it was intended for the businesses. But one person happened to get the email and she said that. She said that she was still looking for work. And I had asked if I could speak with her. So she responded with her number and I called her. And we got to talking about what her present situation is. She's worked for 2 cities. She's worked for a county agency and she's not with a job. And I thought that was kind of striking that she's had some pretty stable jobs and she was not able to be in these agencies. Like, these are stable departments that she worked for. And I said to her, in my discovery, I learned that there was more to it. And I asked a series of questions, and I know one question I asked her about trying to understand what was going on in her work as to what led to her being unemployed. She started crying. She broke down, and it was as if, and sometimes this happens if you have ever counsel people, they hold this facade and it's ironclad. It's almost impenetrable. But when you ask the right questions, it's as if the balloon bursts and they become very vulnerable and almost, it's a vulnerability that I can't really explain. And she started crying and I waited for a minute and once she got it together, I said, so how are you doing? How are you doing? And she said, I'm dealing with some mental health situations. And I said, what are you doing to take care of it? She said, basically, she's self-help. And I said, no, that's not good enough. I said, let me find you some resources, see if there are resources for mental health. Only to find out this weekend, as I thought about her, I looked at some stuff that I found and I sent over to her. So hopefully she got some help that way, or at least gave them a call to see if they could help. But it highlighted something for me. And this is just many years of having sat with people and heard their stories and heard them in vulnerable situations and discovering that even though we walk around having gotten out of our circumstances, especially traumatic situations, the remnants of those traumatic situations are still there. And we're going on and we're moving on with our life. And sometimes we're leaving things behind saying, oh, no, it's in my past, and for some reason it just keeps surfacing. And it surfaces in our relationships. Sometimes especially if you have kids that have grown older, you look around and you see that they're probably not progressing in a way of being very healthy, making good decisions. Sometimes that could be as a result of things that have happened to you that you passed on indirectly to the next generation. Sometimes it's through failed relationships, marriages, not being able to hold on to a job, not being able to hold on to relationships. Sometimes we get older, we get beyond our youth, foolish, youthful stuff, and we find ourselves sitting in a church. And we have this new claim on freedom that Christ has set us free. And we're on this emotional high every week because we have moved on. But there's a lot of carnage in what we left behind in that other space that have not been resolved. And this just highlights for me the importance of really self-discovery. 1, taking care of yourself. Finding what is it that's keeping you from being all that you can be. It's not going to happen just talking to your friends or people that know you who are probably going to be your cheerleader, whether you're right or wrong. But it really requires that you sit with a good counselor, a professional that can help you just lay it out on the table, agitate the soil of that you've been planted in to really help you figure out what those things are. I can't tell you what those are. A lot of times you can't because you're so used to smelling yourself. You don't know what other people are smelling and how you're showing up in their lives. But sometimes you have to be careful because you're packing that stuff into places where if it were resolved, you would have better outcomes. So I hope this helped you. I think most of us are still going through life, dragging traumatic experiences that we thought were in the past, but they're just as present today as they were when they happened to us. Hope this helps you. Be blessed.